Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's midday weather outlook for the southern region brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, taking a look back over the last week, we can now see the total accumulated precipitation through early this morning. And that cutoff low that started there in California, then moved through parts of New Mexico, and then really stretched a band of very heavy precipitation from Texas all the way to the southern half of North Carolina here. In some locations, is able to add to the already saturated ground here 3 to 6 plus inches of rainfall, really targeting parts of Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. Of course, the severe weather that we saw earlier in the week up here in parts of Missouri, but Kentucky, Tennessee, we did finally get the official numbers in for the tornadoes that did go through Tennessee, and the one that you saw me talk about that started in Nashville and then went over to like the Baxter, Cookeville area was ranked as an EF4. So that's the official information. It was over 60 miles long, making it this, I believe, the second longest tornado in U.S. history in the state of Tennessee. So that's specific to Tennessee. What do we have right now? Well, when we look at our river gauges, we currently have many that are in moderate flooding and some in major flooding in this area. And the snow melt recently has started to get some of our rivers up here in parts of South Dakota, southern Minnesota, and Iowa in river stage as well. And a lot of this, of course, is going to be coming down the Mississippi here with time. So I just want to keep you aware of this map as we're going to look at it quite a bit this spring. But I'd like to keep our discussion at the beginning here rather broad scale and long term. We're going to get to the details in a few moments. Because over the last 30 days, in terms of precipitation anomalies, we have a large section of our southern region here that has seen an excess of 6 to well over 10 inches. And I mean well over 10 inches. If you go back to the beginning of the year, there are some places in through here, getting up into southern Tennessee as well, that have seen a surplus of 15 to 18 inches of rainfall. So this has been one of the wettest, if not the wettest, once we get the official data in, early starts to a year on record here. In terms of drought, though, because of the trajectory of each one of these storm systems, the southern tips of of Texas down here, southern Texas, and this region of Florida has gone into drought. And just to show you what the change map looks like, we can see here that we didn't have much of a change across anything over the last week, just a degradation of drought in parts of southern Texas with only very minor improvement in through this area. And outside of that, no major changes overall in our drought monitor as we go from last week to this week. So I said let's keep this bigger picture. So I want to show you what the next 15 days looks like from the European model on the left and the GFS on the right. So as we take a look at this, we see very similar pictures being painted in that we are anticipating a storm track coming out of the subtropical branch of the jet stream that's going to hammer this section of the United States. Now, as we look at that on both images, you can see that as you approach the Gulf Coast, the models are trending drier. This does not mean dry, no precipitation, but the reason why they have drier conditions down there near the coast is because of the trajectory of the split flow in the Pacific coming together in the southwestern part of the United States and then lifting quickly toward the north and east. Therefore, while the moisture pulls through the Gulf of Mexico and into the Gulf Coast states, it tends to follow the track of the storms, which is going to be heavier precipitation from north central Texas straight through the Ohio Valley and then spreading north of there. So we need to watch this pattern very carefully, and let's just show you what it looks like here. Okay, so this is a snapshot 10 days from now, just saying what are we getting ourselves into. It's this high over low pattern that's out here in the Pacific that's driving everything. So you can see the northern branch of the jet stream is doing this. The southern branch of the jet stream is doing that, and it comes together here over California through this trough. And then both pieces meet and then race over this ridge. So the ridge that's down here is going to be what's helping to keep the coastal regions a little drier, but you get into the northern halves of Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and then Louisiana. That's where the heavy rain begins to pick up here over the next 15 days. So this is a pattern that is quite volatile for much of the United States. Let's keep going even farther than that. This is now March 15th through April 15th, and we see a very similar pattern. We're only looking at the European model now, but again, that split flow out west is quite evident with the dry north, wet south. Things come together over California, and then they just race off in this direction. So we need to see if we do actually pick up south and east of that line I just drew, the drier conditions, because it certainly seems to favor a storm track that's going to curl up just like this repeatedly over the next month or so. When you look over here at at the map on the right for temperatures, we do have some pretty cool air that's pushing into the Pacific Northwest. But again, with that subtropical jet stream running like this, we're going to see more days warmer than average here across our southern region than cooler than average. That's for certain. Even longer than that, April, May, and June, brand new model runs that just came out last night. I want to tell you something about these seasonal outlooks. They follow persistence. And what I mean by that is whatever the model was initialized with, they tend to carry. They often don't pick up on pattern changes very well at all. So what this model is really telling us here is that without any sort of substantial slowdown of the global winds or any sort of a change in the split flow in the Pacific Ocean, we continue with our stronger subtropical jet stream. And the thing I really don't want to tell all of you is that this is a pattern that keeps this region and this region extremely active for severe weather. So this is going to be a continuation of the already rough start that we've had this year. That's the bigger picture that I've got right now, and no, this is not necessarily the best news. And we do need to be watching, though, week by week to see if there is a pattern break, because that can most certainly happen. But these models, these longer range models right now, are very consistent with the persistence in the pattern. So that means we need to be on the lookout for anything that could possibly change that, okay? So with that as the backdrop, let's get back to the near term, because over the next 10 days, the main focus is going to be what we just said. The moisture is coming into California. The subtropical branch of the jet stream is cranking up this area. The good news about this next 10 days is there is some pretty good evidence that from Louisiana stretching over here to South Carolina, the drier pattern, a little bit drier than normal, could be the name of the game. Now, in the short term, we are going to get some additional drying from the very strong winds that are on the back side of the system that just went through. So even though it's going to be cool, the drier winds will help with evaporation. We do have high wind advisories out for a big section here of of Alabama, Georgia, and parts of South Carolina as the first system kind of takes off. You can see what the winds are going to be looking like today as high pressure builds here, but the low pressure center that's sitting off the coast, strong winds out of the north here pouring across a big section of our southern region. But as you notice, rebounding the heat back up into parts of Texas into the Central Plains. So with that, let's go straight to our European model. We can already see the low is sitting off the coast. The little clipper that came through here is now sitting just east of Michigan, and they're going to try to come together to make for some big problems in the northeast, but I don't think they're going to be successful in doing that. Watch it again with me here, because it's just going to get right off the coast there too quickly. So maybe Cape Cod's going to get hammered, but outside of that, we got drier weather for the next few days down here in our southern region. So high pressure moves in, does come in with some cooler conditions with it, but as you just saw with the high pressure cell sitting here, the return of the moisture and the return of the heat comes right back into this area. So major warm-up planned as you stretch from here to here, knowing that the southeast is going to have a cool weekend ahead of it. So with that moisture return, we see that by next Sunday night into Monday morning, we already have precipitation moving out of New Mexico into Texas. And this will continue on Monday with this high pressure cell pulling in that moisture, really targeting this region by Monday night. Widely scattered showers and thunderstorms in through this area. At this stage, because I don't see the strong wind shear helping this out, I don't have any reason to tell you that these storms are going to be severe in this area, but maybe have the potential for putting down some locally heavy rain as you move farther to the north. This is now Monday night to Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon and evening. And you can see that that system pulls to the north and east and just leaves a lingering frontal boundary in this area. You've probably heard me say that a million times, but that's going to be the boundary on which we could get more widely scattered showers and thunderstorms. Greater concentration north than south, so just keep an eye on it. Again, this is Tuesday evening. Notice next, big coastal low comes into California here, and that's going to be the catalyst for the next system that moves out, which will be, this is now basically late Wednesday night into Thursday morning. This is Thursday morning. See it there in the midsection of the country. Getting into Thursday afternoon, evening. And again, high pressure here pulls the moisture in. So we just have multiple chances of rainfall in through this region, which is why you saw in my anomaly maps that that's the target region on our southern part of the United States that we're watching carefully through the next week to 10 days. So that system pulls through again. Heavy rainfall with that one too. This is the end of next week. So by the time I'm talking to you next week, this is what we'll be discussing right in through here, okay? So the pattern stays active as we just keep it going out here to the middle part of March. But as we discussed, if you had me kind of hone in on the active region for our southern area, it's here. That's what we're talking about. So the closer we get to the Gulf, the better the chances are that these systems don't pull in the extremely heavy rainfall like we saw over the last week. That's the main narrative here. Okay, what about temperatures? When I think about what we're anticipating for Saturday morning, this will be the coolest of our mornings here. We see the freezing line getting down through most of Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, but unlike the last few systems which were able to pull those freezing temperatures in northern Florida, it appears that we're going to stay in the lower 30s here, but not touch on the freezing line. So we're watching it come right through here. As we see where this is going, let's take a look. Rebound in temperatures starting out west first on Sunday. Still a cool weekend here for parts of the southeast. But then as we get into Monday, look at the warm-up happening. These are all low temperatures, by the way, low temperatures. Here's Tuesday, widespread mid to upper 50s for lows. Getting into Wednesdays, much of the same, and next Thursday and Friday. So that seems to be the pattern that's hanging on here. Looking longer term on those temperatures, this is days 5 through 10. So as the trough becomes well established here, broader ridging in this place. So that's why we see the warmer than average conditions across much of the eastern 2/3 of the United States. And right now the models are trying to really amplify this pattern out today 10 through 15, shoving that ridge into Alaska, displacing that cold air here, really diving a deeper trough, which is why I'm telling you this section of the country right in through here is going to have the active storm track if this pattern persists through March. So that is really what we are staring at here in the near term. I hope you found it useful to take a look at that longer term. Unfortunately, it means tight windows for operations especially in the northern half of our southern region here. We'll keep a close eye on it. We're going to watch for any sort of a pattern break to be able to report it to you first, because it could be very significant for the way that we start this next growing season. With that, I'm going to go and wrap it up right here. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you again on Monday. Thank you.